Welcome to the Mobile City Planning Commission meeting for the 21st day of September. I would like to take a moment to review our general operating procedures. This meeting is divided into two sessions, public hearing session and deliberation. In deliberation, agenda item is called, the applicant makes their presentation, commission members ask questions, and members of the public make their comments to the commission. Only 4 people may speak for an agenda item and 4 people against. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes, subject to questions by the commission. At 1 minute remaining, you will have a warning bell or a beep prompting you to summarize your comments. After opposition speakers finish, an applicant will have a 2-minute rebuttal period. If you do intend to speak, come to the podium in the middle of the room, speak into the microphone, and provide your name and address for the record. Please direct all comments to the commission only and not to the applicant, the staff, or the audience. After hearing all applications, the commission will then go into deliberation, where we will discuss each application with input from the staff as necessary, but with no input from the audience. We will then vote on each application, and the results of the voting can be learned from the planning department. If some issues arise during deliberation that were not addressed in public hearing, we have the discretion to allow additional comments pertaining to those issues in order to resolve them or call for the application to be held over for discussion at a future meeting. Occasionally, a commissioner may recuse themselves from discussing and voting on a given application. That does not mean the member is directly involved with the application or the applicant, but depending upon the circumstances, ethical rules may require a recusal. If a regular member recuses, a supernumerary will vote in their stead. The Planning Commission makes final decisions on subdivisions with appeals of those decisions to the Circuit Court. The Planning Commission is strictly a recommending body for rezonings, conditional use permits, and planned developments. The City Council makes the final decision on these applications. All appeals of the City Council decisions are to the Circuit Court. At this time, please turn off your cell phones or turn them to vibrate or silent, any other electronic devices at this time. Commissioners and staff, please turn on your microphones when speaking. I'll call the roll. Myself, Jay Stubbs, present. Mr. Kirk Matei. Here. Ms. Jennifer Denson. Here. Ms. Shirley Sessions. Here. Mr. Larry Dorsey, Mr. Chad Anderson, Mr. Matt Anderson, here. Mr. Nick Amberger, here. Mr. Josh Woods, here. Mr. Harry Brislin, Mr. Kenny Nichols. Here. We have a quorum, and I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda for September 21. Second. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. The motion passes for the agenda. We have 3 items on the agenda. We will move on to number 1 is an extension request of from a subdivision of 5041 Range Line Crossing Drive, an extension of a subdivision of 2 lots at 45 acres. Is the applicant present? Yes. Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Name and address for the records, please.
Hello, Melissa Curry with Goodwood Mills in Kaywood at 2039 Main Street in Daphne, Alabama.
Are you requesting the extension and aware of the 9 conditions of the application?
Yes, those were stipulated on the original preliminary plat. Most of those were worked through subsequent to the preliminary plat original presentation, and then the plat was approved along with the PUD.
All right, any questions from commissioners on this application? Are you in agreement with the 9 listed conditions? Asking the applicant.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Any questions from you on any of those conditions?
No, I just want to point out that it looks like the traffic comments were kind of extensive, but we revised the plan according to those comments that were originally received by Mary Beth Bergen, and they were fixed and resubmitted with the preliminary plat, and then that was what was ultimately approved. So those comments do not reflect the changes that were made subsequent.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak for agenda item number 1 at 5041 Range Line Crossing Drive? Is there anyone here to speak against it? All right, thank you, ma'am. Seeing no further action on that one, we'll move on to number 2 on the agenda. New application for subdivision at 1757 East I-65 Service Road South, D. McCrary subdivision of one lot, just under 5 acres. Is the applicant present? Are you in agreement with the 7 conditions of the application or have any questions or comments regarding the application? Please state your name and address for the record.
Jason Linder, Linder Surveying, 960 Schillinger Road South. And yes, we're in agreement with all the comments.
All right. Any questions or comments from commissioners for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Is anyone else here to speak for this agenda item? Is there anyone here to speak against it? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. Dual application of a subdivision and a rezone at 6137 Todd Acres Drive, Todd Acres Industrial Park subdivision, a re-subdivision of lots 1 and 4. So it's a subdivision of 2 lots over 540 acres, and then a rezone from B5 and I2 to B5. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Is the applicant present? Looks like.
Hi, this is Patrick Dungan for the applicant.
All right, regarding the subdivision, there's 11 listed conditions, and then on the rezone, 3 listed conditions. Any comments from the applicant regarding those? Any questions?
No.
Are you in agreement with those
Yes.
conditions listed under both?
Yes.
Any questions or comments from commissioners? Seeing none, I'll ask if there's anyone else in the audience that is here to speak for this agenda item. Anyone here to speak against? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing session and move on to the deliberation session. We'll go back to number 1 on the agenda, extension of subdivision at 5041 Rangeline Crossing Drive, subdivision of 2 lots. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve staff recommendation. Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Number 2, subdivision of 1757 East I-65 Service Road South, D. McCrary subdivision. The applicant is present and did not have any questions on the 7 listed conditions. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, subject to staff recommendations. Second. Or the following conditions.
Subject to the conditions, yep. Second. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Number 3 on the agenda, we'll take them separately for the subdivision and the rezone. The applicant is present in agreement with the 11 listed conditions of the subdivision. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve, subject to staff recommendations. Move to approve the subdivision, subject to staff recommendations. Second.
Properly moved and seconded on the subdivision. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. On the rezone, going from B5 and I2 to B5 in its entirety.
I move to recommend approval of rezoning request to the city council. Second.
Properly moved and seconded for the rezone to go to city council. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Moving right along, after the agenda items, we have other business, 2 items of other business. The first is the action plan update for the map of Mobile. It will require a motion and a vote. I'll read that, and then we have a call for public hearing for the Tolmanville Neighborhood Plan. So I'll go ahead and read this resolution. Whereas the Mobile City Planning Commission has approved the Map for Mobile Framework for Growth, a new comprehensive plan for the city of Mobile, and whereas the Map for Mobile includes an action plan with Appendix A that is to be periodically updated, And whereas the Build Mobile worked closely with the city staff to update the action plan, and whereas the 2023 action plan updates were developed over the course of several months, and whereas the 2023 action plan updates have been through several reviews prior to the draft being finalized, and whereas the Mobile City Planning Commission has now reviewed and conducted a public hearing on the 2023 action plan updates. Entertain a motion for the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Pico has a short presentation regarding the action plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will not make this meeting any lengthier, but I wanted to give you all, particularly our new members, an opportunity to understand what the action plan means and why we make the time, hopefully on an annual basis, to provide an update on the city's accomplishments. So for the members of the Planning Commission that have tenure, you may recall back in 2015, we went through the enormous exercise of updating our comprehensive plan. And of course, we refer to that plan as the Map for Mobile plan. There was extensive community engagement, public outreach, working with thousands of citizens to gain a better understanding of what they believed our broader vision for the Mobile community to be. When that comprehensive plan was adopted, one of the things that the then Planning Commission felt very strongly needed to happen was that it should be accompanied by an action plan. Their desire was to not adopt a plan that was going to sit on the shelf and not be useful to the efforts of this body or to the city as a whole. So the action plan was birthed. It is an effort that involves not just the Build Mobile department, but several city key departments that execute on the initiatives of the city. A good bulk of them are capital improvement programs, but they touch on a wide variety of community and growth issues. So essentially, it outlines a list of projects, policies, and programs. They are strategic and long-term. Many are complex and obviously require multi-year efforts. They're partially composed of transformative capital projects that are also in our CIP, so you see a lot of alignment with all of our other associated planning documents across the city. But they're also composed of policies and programs that may be ongoing that we address on a regular and frequent basis. Now, what the action plan is not, it does not contain all of the actions that the city should be doing as a part of our normal operations, so it's not a strategic plan in that sense. It does not include the work of all of our city departments, but a good majority are represented through our work, and it does not address internal operational strategies. So just to kind of put in perspective where this plan fits, you can see, as I described back in 2015, we went through the comprehensive planning Map for Mobile exercise. One of the products of that was a future land use plan and a major street plan, many of which are referenced in your staff recommendations, staff documents that you regularly evaluate through the application of projects that are coming before your body. There are a number of neighborhood plans that are referenced through this document, and the ones that you're most familiar with would be Africatown, the Village of Spring Hill, and even the Peninsula were some of the neighborhood plans that align with our work. And then the action plan, its intent is to understand what are the key actions that fall out of all of those plans and what we can do to execute on those, but making sure that we have measurable results that unfold out of all of those area plans. And then you see its alignment to our capital improvements plan. I think we're under our new 5-year plan, which represents over $100 million in projects. So the key is to make sure that the alignment of that plan goes back to the city's vision for growth. Obviously, we just adopted our 2024 budget, so there's alignment there. And then, of course, y'all are most familiar with our work to update our codes and ordinances, the UDC, subdivision regulations, and so forth. So the next slide is just a snapshot of the significant progress that has been made since 2015. We'll give you a few examples of what those projects look like. But you can see where we started out with a total of 121 actions and the results that we've accomplished up till 2023. So we went through an extensive reorganization with this action plan this year. If you may recall, shortly after Mayor Stimson was elected, he put together his 1,000-day framework, and that framework represented pillars that touch on a variety of growth issues throughout the city. And so one of the things we wanted to make sure that we were doing with respect to this plan the action plan and all of our plans moving forward is that we had that alignment. So these new pillars are represented in the most recent iteration of the action plan. We interviewed all of the department leaders to understand their progress. We removed actions that were complete or no longer relevant. We added a limited number of new actions, and then we updated the responsibility or the associated department and the timing that reflected back to those independent action items. So here's just a graphic so that you can see how the new pillars work. It gives a status on each of those actions, and then the lines of effort, meaning what departments, whether they're internal or external stakeholders, and perhaps where there's a shared responsibility for our action items as represented in the plan. So just a quick snapshot of some of the examples of the new actions that are represented. For quite a while, we've focused and discussed the need for wayfinding in our city, and that's essentially the signage, whether that's electronic, digital, or kiosk, so that people know how to circumvent and navigate through our downtown amenities. We've highlighted the need for a coordinated plan for fire station facilities, updating the park facilities master plan. Several years ago, a parks master plan was conducted, and identifying the need to prioritize improvements within our park system, upgrades to the golf course and its facilities, and then the expansion of the recycling services to underserved areas of the city. And these are just examples of the many new action items that are represented in this document. Ones that are most pertinent to you all as Planning Commission members, you will see in short order, likely after the first of the year, is the update to the future land use plan. We are at a point where we need to revisit and reevaluate our future land use plan and map. And then next, as I mentioned previously, we've undertaken neighborhood plans and studies in other areas, and most recently one that's emerging is a neighborhood plan for the Tolmanville community, and in short order that community will come and present to you all a plan that they've developed for their neighborhood. So our next steps is to simply have this commission adopt this plan. Again, I think where we are confident and committed to the work is ensuring that we are regularly revisiting, reevaluating, and making sure that the action items outlined with this plan are relevant to where the city is going directionally with regard to community growth and the policies associated with that. So the staff, and I'd like to really applaud the work of our city team, and that includes the departments that would come to mind: engineering, program, project management, public works, all of those departments that are the men and women that are helping to execute, and it's through their input that this document was produced. So we just have the benefit of being able to package it all together, present it to this planning commission and to the mayor's office and to our citizens, as we are accountable to them, and we want to make sure that there's transparency in the work of the city and what we're doing to make our community better. That's it. Any questions?
Any questions from commissioners? Well, again, thank you, Ms. Biko, for your presentation. Thank you to staff for all of their work towards this action plan. We will now entertain a motion for adoption of this action plan.
Move to adopt the 2023 action plan update. Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? The resolution passes. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mobile City Planning Commission does hereby incorporate the 2023 action plan updates as presented this 21st day of September into the map for Mobile. All right. Second item of business is a call for public hearing for the Pullmanville Neighborhood Plan. Any commentary from staff regarding this?
Well, this is in line with what Shayla was just mentioning regarding the comp planning process and one of the components to that plan. So we ask that the commission set the public hearing for October 19th, where we will have a short presentation for that as well.
Entertain a motion to add call for public hearing for Pullmanville, October 19th. Properly moved and seconded. All in favor? The motion passes for the public hearing. Any further business items, comments from staff?
I have one more item just to remind the commission that at your next meeting on October 5th will be the presentation of the future land use map and major street plan amendments for the annexed areas. So I will be sending out that information to you in an email, so you'll have it available to review prior to the meeting.
Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.